some criticisms about the Mario movie, some new mechanics revealed for Tears of the Kingdom, and why Earthworm Jim is like a piece of cake. This week on Nintendo Therapy. Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest news and rumors as well as a celebration of all things Nintendo. And with me this week is just Harrison. Sean is under the weather. We all wish him well. Hopefully he is under some covers playing some Nintendo and drinking some tea and getting all better.
Yeah.
So how's your week been, Harrison?
Hey, Kevin, good to talk to you. It's doing good. And yeah, hopefully Sean is good. Hopefully Sean didn't get sick from the Spotlight game or anything that, he was playing this week because
I did ask him to send me his thoughts on it so we could put them in.
Yeah. And that's actually a bit of foreshadowing into my own feelings. So I'll move on from that. What did you play What did you play this week?
I'm still focusing on getting Pokemon Violet done before Tears of the Kingdom launches, and I'm getting close. To finish the Pokedex, I've got about 90 Pokemon left to get. And as far as like the story of the game goes, I am in the last area. I want to do like any spoilers just in case, but there's a last area of the game, and I'm in that. And I'm going to use that last area to level up any of the Pokemon I need to evolve and finish that Pokedex.
That was by far my favorite part of that game, and I thought I was getting messed with because I avoided all spoilers when I played it, and yep. I would give that game, honestly, after it's all said and done, I think like a 7 out of 10, which I think is pretty decent for that game. But yeah, that last area when it opens up. No spoilers, but like, I just thought, wow, like, is this what they were planning to do? Or is this a new game now? Like,
yeah, I think that game suffered a lot from being developed at the same time as Arceus. I think a lot of the, good ideas were beaten to the punch there. I'm kind of, I was surprised how easy the Elite Four were, but at the same time, I was kind of over leveled, which is usually my strategy in RPGs anyway. A lot of players have like this obsession with like challenge and stuff. I don't want challenge. I want to steamroll everything. So because I was working on the Pokedex, and I was constantly rotating my team with my main team that I knew I was going to take to the end, they kept leveling up, and by the time I hit the Elite Four, like my main team was all like in level like in the 80s. So I destroyed them.
I mean, I think this game is incredibly easy for the obvious reason. It's meant for many different kinds of people to enjoy. I do wish there were sometimes options on experience share and scaling, things that I see in like fan made Pokemon games where there's lots of different options of the story and difficulty. So that I wish I could see that, but yeah, that the final part is my favorite. And again, no spoilers, but I thought I was in Xenoblade for a second when I was playing the last part.
Yeah, it does kind of have a look
like everyone's
to it like that.
Everyone's kind of like running together, and it's like, oh wow, what's this? Like I was like, this was definitely Xenoblade inspired, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, they could. Who knows? Maybe at some point that was the idea behind what this game would have been, and they were like, it just doesn't feel like Pokemon. We'll just put it as a section of the game.
Yeah, a whole complete section that you just have to Like you have to like warp to. I've seen people try to get to Area Zero from out of bounds, and I don't think it works. um,
Yeah, people always try that stuff.
oh,
And a lot of times it works. I remember as a kid trying to get on top of the castle in Mario 64,
mhm.
and I could never do it. Obviously before the 120 stars, it's not hard after that. But people online can do it. They can like time a triple jump into like the hill area there and make it work. I could never do it.
Yeah, I've seen people do that before. In in the Pokemon games, in this one, it's quite easy to go out of bounds. I think, in my opinion, because like it's so janky. Or you can use the camera to look out of bounds pretty easy as well. And I don't know if you've done this, but if you go up to some of the buildings in Pokemon Violet, if you move the camera in, you can see that some of the interiors have like
Huh.
something inside of them, like perhaps
That's
like
interesting.
textures for like furniture or something. So I think that was one of my biggest criticisms of that game, is that you can only walk into the sandwich shop. Um,
Yeah. So it probably had bigger ambitions at some point.
right, because like I mean, of course, I pictured that one block like perfect open world game where you can just seamlessly walk in and out of. Well, that was actually a pretty impressive part to me for Breath of the Wild at the time. At the time when it came out, is
Yeah, Pokemon Violet does kind of feel like it's held together with like elastic bands at at certain points. Like it's like it could all just come crashing down at any moment.
yeah.
I hope the next title they get their act together for. I wouldn't hate if they went back to the more simple, like handheld style for a game. Like I loved the look of those older, less 3D games in the series.
Well,
But that's probably nostalgia talking.
all of my Pokemon predictions have been pretty much wrong. Like I thought we were going to get a Pokemon Stadium for Switch with superb online play, and I was going to love it. I thought we were going to get a new Pokemon Let's Go game for Gold and Silver. You know, I which I mean, these could all happen, but I
Yeah.
thought that they were going to happen in the lifetime of this system. Uh,
Well, I'm hoping the next game is more put together. And I do remember, now that I think of it, a rumor that I think there was like a job listing where the company that makes the Pokemon games was looking for people who had experience with Unreal Engine. And that was like a news story one week. So I don't know. Hopefully they they don't put out something like this again. We'll just say that it's something that can maintain its frame rate and not crash and
right,
all those other things we've seen.
right. And
I actually haven't had mine crash on me yet, but I've heard people online say there's crashed.
I had mine crashing me so much. Ooh,
Hmm.
especially
I wonder what I'm doing different.
especially in the beginning. But actually, it might have been the patches though, because
Maybe.
I haven't picked up this game in so long at this point. But
Yeah, the patches might have fixed it now that you mention it because I got it when it first released and then I like didn't play it like all of December and then picked it up again in January when it had been patched. So maybe that was it.
yeah, because I went through it with this game. Like I went through some highs and lows with that game. Because I remember a few days after I got it, I saw one of my friends who was playing it, and I remember being so upset at that point and being like, "Man, I'm gonna finish it." But like the game keeps crashing on me, and when it does work, it's not that much fun because I didn't enjoy the story. Um, and I'm so happy that I did finish it because, as I told you, I got the shiny charm and I collected about 60 shinies before I was like, okay, I'm done. I got to move on.
What else have you been playing?
Uh, yeah, I'm getting ready for my trip, and I've been trying to get in this right mind space. So lately, I've been playing a lot of just chill games. So again, MLB. maybe some driving sims. There's a number of indie games on Steam on my Steam Deck that I want to try out that I'm just gonna have to wait for now. So Kevin, this what am I playing segment in 2 weeks is going to get very boring for me on my end. I'll tell you because after May 12th, it's going to be the same
Yep.
answer for I don't, many weeks.
Yeah, I don't know how much longer we even need it on the show. We started it in the beginning just to have something to talk about, but we are kind of just saying the same games every week. So maybe we'll just have people talk if they're, we'll ask, is anyone playing anything interesting? And if there's something new to talk about, they can chime in.
Yeah, yeah. Keep a segment. Here's what you do. You say, "Hi, I'm Kevin. This is Nintendo Therapy. Is anyone not playing Zelda?" No, no. Everyone's playing Zelda. All right.
Well, I'm going to be playing Pikmin also because I'm going to get it with the voucher because something about the $70 price tag makes me want to use the voucher, so I feel like I saved some money getting 2 games for, for the price of normal games.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get Pikmin with it. Pikmin 3.
That's actually a good point. I never think about too much of, as much as Nintendo gets criticized for so many things, and I'm a part of that. Their program with using gold points, I think, is quite nice. I have gotten so many free games out of that,
Mm-hmm.
which probably just means I buy too many games. But I love it when I have like 500 gold and I see a game for like $2 or $3 on sale. I'm like, yeah, this is, just gonna pick this up for free.
Yeah, I've totally done the same thing, and I might end up using points for those Final Fantasy games that just released the individual, the 1 through 6 Final Fantasy, which is funny because basically back in the day, or I still have it. I have a PSP that has Final Fantasy 1 through 9 on the PSP, and that made me think when I got my Switch, I was like, oh my God, it'd be so awesome if I could get all the Final Fantasies on this device. And then eventually, I think 12 came on it first, and I was like, awesome. And then 10 and 10-2 with the collection came out. And then they did 7, 8, and 9. And so I had 7 through 12. And I'm like, this is awesome. They need to release 1 through 6. And I waited for it for so long, and now I feel like they took too long because now it's out and I haven't bought it yet. And I'm even considering just buying them individually, like when I feel like playing each one.
Is it a digital only release?
It was limited physical, I
Uh,
think. They definitely did one, but I think it was limited, and it's on the eShop for sure. And you can either buy them individually or as the collection for $75, I think. And which people complained about the price tag, but I'm like, come on, like look how many hours is there. Like each game is, yes, they're old games, but I'm gonna get, if I buy that $75 collection, definitely going to get like minimum of 20 hours out of each game.
yeah, and who cares what other adults buy?
Yeah, that too.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what? Sometimes I spend too much time on like these Nintendo Facebook, Twitter, and yeah, just sometimes I want to tell people like, who cares how people play games and how people spend their money and all of that stuff. But
Well, you know what, that's a good transition for the first thing I wrote a note about that was on my mind this week, and it also transitions into the only news story I found. So we're probably in a
oh sure.
good spot here. So speaking of people talking about things on the internet, I brought this up when we reviewed the Mario movie, but I listened to a few other podcasts and YouTube channels since then, and it kept coming up, and I just I want to say my official stance on this is I keep hearing people say, "Oh, it had no story. The Mario movie had no story," or some version of that. I just want to say, like, why do people keep saying this? It had a story, okay? Yes, it was a very simple one, but there are legitimate complaints you can have with this movie. The needle drops should have been Nintendo music. The what do you call it? The stinger at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
movie with the Yoshi egg
Sure.
was a wasted opportunity. Um, Mario and Peach's relationship was very rushed. There's legitimate complaints you can have with this movie. To say it had no story, I feel like it's just internet. Get better. Like that's just lazy criticism. And I wonder if I get fired up about this point because I'm a huge Mystery Science Theater fan and I have seen movies with no story. This is not one of them. Like, I don't know if you've watched that show, but uh, there's a movie called Monster A Go Go. Go check that out. That movie's got no story. It is narration over B-roll footage. The whole movie.
I, I wasn't too big on Mystery Science Theater uh, growing up, but I do respect that show a lot. And actually, this is going to be a common theme for later on in this podcast. But I did discover, I discovered Ed Wood through Mystery Science Theater, and I think Ed Wood is a very fascinating director who
Absolutely.
did a lot of very interesting, crazy, sometimes adult oriented things in his career. So I give Mystery Science Theater that, and I'm assuming they've come to your city because I know they've done shows in St. Louis before.
Oh yeah, yeah. They tour all over.
They still tour all over. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think those are like the lazy or casual takes. And as far as I don't know, as far as like the Mario lore, I just I thought it was fine. Like, is it a
Well, here's the thing that I'm wondering. I've been thinking a lot about it, and I wonder if the fact that a lot of movies have gotten up to like 2.5 hour run times these days and they over explain things, if a quick, simple story just doesn't register in their minds now, because like you could see like the Zack Snyder version of this movie where they spent 40 minutes in New York before they even went to the Mushroom Kingdom, you know, and it was all about why Mario was depressed that he's letting his father down, and it really hammered that home. And then after 40 minutes they go to the Mushroom Kingdom, they have the whole movie, and then they come back at the end and there's like a 20-minute scene with his father talking about I'm proud of you now and really hammering home the subtext. And the Mario Brothers movie has that story in it, but it's just like a line of dialogue at the beginning and then a look that he gives Mario at the end. Like there's story elements here. Like I don't know. I could literally rant about this forever, but I wonder if longer movies is to blame.
I think that would be part of it. I think predictability might be part of it. Again, you know, I, nothing was too surprising in this movie, and I didn't go in with that sort of expectation. Again, like it's Mario, it's Peach, it's princesses, it, it's the formula, right? It fits some kind of formula that is expected, I think, but it's entertaining. And when I see things like that, I imagine that those critics, they like movies as well that don't have stories. I bet they do.
Yeah.
I bet they do because they like it for some other reason. There's nostalgia. There's some kind of emotional connection to it, or it's just an entertaining movie. Uh, so that's what I think. I think uh, people like all different movies, and some people will only want to watch the best movies as well. Um, I saw that the new Scorsese movie, they're saying it's going to be over 3.5 hours long. And I was like, huh.
Whew.
I was like, I'm good, because I love Scorsese, but I'm like, I'm waiting until it comes out, and then I'm gonna watch it at home over like.
How is that not 2 movies?
But
You've got two. That's what I always like. Another thing I always say about like the Zack Snyder movies, will stay on him, are super long, especially like I remember there was a news story for Batman v Superman before it even came out, where they said something like the script for Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman is 250 pages or something like that, and it was like a news story. And I was like, why do the studios keep approving these giant thick scripts when they know they're going to have to cut half of that out? Like, that's part of the problem there, is they already know it's too big going in.
right, well, didn't they say the same with the original Black Panther movie? Like, didn't they say it was going to be like over 3 hours long? And a lot of people were like, "Great, yeah," because they've been waiting for that movie for so long. But no, for me, I mean, like, I know plenty of people are like, "Oh yeah, no problem. I'll sit for 4 hours." Not, I can't do it, man. Like, I just
Nope,
and like
me either.
and like if this Scorsese movie is going to be 3.5 hours, I'll wait till it comes out at home, and then I'll watch it at home like a Netflix show. I'll watch it over like 3 days, unless it's like really good, and then maybe I'll watch it over like 24 hours or something like that. But I'm not sitting in a theater. I eat all of my snacks before the movie starts. I'm not doing that.
Well, that transitions into the only news story I had for this week, and it's about the Mario movie, sort of. Shigeru Miyamoto has confirmed to Japanese news site Nihon Kazai Shimbun
Nice.
that there is no doubt, in quotes, that he will make another film based on Nintendo
Oh,
franchises.
well, that's not. Is this news?
Not really.
I. It's like, oh, the movie made $1 billion. Should we make another one? Like, come on, guys. Come on.
What I wanted to talk about was that obviously they're going to make another movie, and they haven't announced anything, and they don't know. I think they even said we don't know what's next, but um I've already seen some accounts online jumping to say that this confirms a Nintendo shared universe is in the works. And it's like, no, 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 no. He said more movies. He didn't say anything about shared universe. And I feel like the voice of the people who want that shared universe is only going to get louder as the newer movies come, because I'm willing to bet the next movie they do is probably going to be like, if it's not a direct sequel, it's going to be like a Donkey Kong tie-in or a Luigi Mansion tie-in or something. So they're going to be like, look, it's a shared universe. And it's like, no, those are spin-off movies. It's still not the same thing. And I don't know. I feel like if we get like a Donkey Kong movie, that's going to confirm to them that they're doing shared universe. And it's like, yeah, it's more of a spin-off.
Well, they share video games together, so
That
it's
too.
not like until I see Zelda and Mario together, or Link and Mario together. Like, it's not. Yeah, it's more of like these characters are just
I don't
connected.
even understand why people want that, dude. Like um I've thought about this a lot too, and I'm like, with superhero movies it makes sense because the source material that they're adapting is like crossovers. Like the story that you're bringing from page to screen has all of these characters interacting. They might as well all be in the same story. You know, they have their own comic books, but they come together. That's not what Mario games are like. So for me, like I'd prefer, and I know you're the same way, like keep it separate. Keep like there was an R wing. Apparently I missed it, but I saw it online. There was an R wing on Mario's like dresser or something in the movie. Like that's the type of stuff you should be putting in. Like there's your Star Fox. I don't need to see Mario talking to Princess Zelda or Star Fox talking to Kirby. Kirby's not in the source material of a Mario movie, you know?
Yeah, it's I it, I think the speculation should just kind of settle down. It's not a movie that is in the making. Of course, they're planning on making more because the first one did so good, apparently much better than they thought. And it, and and yeah, we just don't know. But I want to say that they made a lot of money. They'll keep the same formula, but then again, I mean, look at the two Mario movies. These are these are totally different. But I would like to think they keep the same formula. They bring back the same composer from the first movie, and they just add in like Yoshi and like Donkey Kong Jr.
Yep.
or like they just add in more characters as it goes.
Like I said, I would love to see Bowser Jr.
Right.
I think that would be really cool.
Right. Like we don't need to go into these other dimensions and make it so why are people talking about it? Are they bored? Are they just not
I
thinking?
think they're just like, I like these two things. I want to see them at the same time. And they don't think about the fact that those two things don't really need to interact with each other. Like they're like, oh, well, I liked Captain America and Iron Man, and that was really cool when I saw them at the same time. And it's like, yeah, but because of the source material they come from, where they already are drawing from conversations that were had in that source material, like
Yeah.
I don't know. It should be more of a brand. The Nintendo movies are a brand that constantly references each other. Like you could put a bomb in a Legend of Zelda movie. There's your Mario reference in there, and it's like it's not a shared universe, but you referenced another Nintendo property because that's basically what the games do.
Right.
You
Exactly.
Smash Brothers aside, you'll see like Kirby in Link's Awakening, or but he's an enemy, or you'll see Samus in Super Mario RPG sleeping in the bed,
Right.
like stuff like that.
Right. And yeah, references and especially those Easter eggs that we got in the movie were great. So yeah, I don't know. I think there's lots of reasons why people speculate if it's again if they're bored or it's just not original. And it's like yeah, I see this thing and I like this thing. This is probably a much bigger topic, but can I have your 30-second take on do you think superhero movies, do you think that bubble is ever going to burst, or are superhero movies just so agreeable that we're going to have superhero movies just forever?
Yeah, I don't think it will ever burst. I think it will definitely, like I think it has already actually hit like a saturation point, and it will kind of dry up a little bit. I don't know, maybe I should get out of this metaphor. It's I think it's peaked, and it will go down, and will, like, I think there was one year where we had like 5 of them release in the same year.
Mm.
I don't think we'll get to that point again for a while. And we may even get back to a point where we only see 1 or 2 a year, but I don't think they'll ever go away.
Yeah, well, I think that's more reasonable. I think because we've always had superhero movies, and I guess one
Exactly,
or
yeah.
two is just I should say, will it ever go back to the 90s? I guess. Um,
I hope, and unfortunately, I think I've already seen DC saying they're not going to do this, but like I was hoping, I don't know. I'd like to get back to a point where they're kind of more standalone movies, which is why I love Into the Spider-Verse, because it's kind of, its own little thing, even though it did reference the Marvel
mhm.
universe in the new trailer. But like I like that stuff more. I love the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. I grew up on those, and like I don't know. I like it when I talk about what I grew up on. I definitely grew up on the Tim Burton Batmans. So I prefer them when they're standalone. And I don't know. I think people forget how awesome the Marvel movies in the beginning were, when they were just doing kind of like what I was just saying Nintendo should do, where it was just like references here and there, but it wasn't like a full-on cameo appearance by a character like fully showing up. Like, yeah, they had that mostly with Nick Fury, but the majority of what was connecting that universe until the first Avengers movie was just like a line here and there referencing something, and now it's just full on like, oh, bring out the crew.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I understand that at the time it's going to make tons of money, and it's something that I think it really doesn't matter. I think like anybody of any age, of any background can go and see these movies in any country, but I wonder in hindsight, like, is it good for like just the legacy of these movies? Because I can tell you as a casual DC Marvel fan that I can't keep up with Spider-Man. I honestly
Yeah, no,
don't
it's true.
remember what characters are in what universe and what movies sometimes. And sometimes I'm just showing up to a movie theater and going, all right. Um, so I, it,
It's funny. I remember a message board conversation I had before the MCU took off. I think only Iron Man was out at this point. And I have these random internet memories, and this is one of them. So The Dark Knight, maybe it hadn't released yet or had just released, and Superman Returns was about to come out or was in production. And I remember people online saying, how cool would it be if in the Batman movie, like when he's in a bar, you see on the TV something about the Brandon Routh Superman Returns movie, just like as like a little nod to that. And I remember this whole message board of people on both sides of it, some saying that would be awesome if they referenced the Superman Returns movie, and some saying, what would be the point of that? It wouldn't have anything to do with the Batman story. It would just be distracting. And it was just such a funny conversation to remember, because like less than 5 years from there, the MCU had done exactly that and exploded.
yeah. If I was on that message board, I would have been on the side of that's stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on that
Yeah.
side. That's why I think I remember the
Yeah.
conversation. I was like that. I was like, it's pointless. What does it add to the story?
Well,
So yeah.
well, also, and I'll just add one more quick thing, is that that would kind of take me out of that own space and that own universe, because I've always seen Gotham as being this extremely, extremely weird place where I don't really know what that timeline or time is. So to incorporate something
Mm-hmm.
from the outside would be weird, because in Dark Knight, I would just watch those movies and think, why do people live here? Like, just move, guys. Like, you don't like you got money, obviously. Like, why are you around all this crime all the time? Like, I would just move, move to the country or something. Um,
All right, and that's pretty much all the news I had. Oh, you said that I didn't actually get to see them, but you wanted to talk about the Zelda trailers, the new TV
right. So I
spots.
woke up this morning and I saw that like tons of people release videos on this, and I haven't seen. I read some of the articles from like Washington Post. They went to a preview in Manhattan. Nintendo Life. They went to a preview in Frankfurt. Man, those guys live a good life. Man, I'm just like, but apparently now like Austin John and tons of other people that have played the game now have made videos. And listeners, there are, if you haven't seen on Twitter yet, there are screenshots of home screens. This game is in the wild somewhere, so just be cautious of that.
Well, yeah, wasn't there like a GameStop over in Europe that was like they were selling them
Oh man,
early, the physical copies, and Nintendo. I saw a thing that they were trying to track down all of the copies that had made it out of there.
that stuff is so serious. They're going to get shut down. Are they shut down? Because
They must be. I don't know. I just remember, like, I wish I should have saved it for the show, the article. You know what? Talk for a second. I'm going to do a quick search and see if I can find that.
okay, so I'm gonna bring up some of the things I'll bring up what I'm most excited about first from what we've heard. And again, this is going to be a little bit spoiler related, but this is all the information from the previews, nothing else. Most exciting, they have confirmed that when you open a chest, if you don't have room for an item, you can now swap out items. And I think that is huge. Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my God. Thank God they
Like,
have that.
what? Like, go ahead.
You that was one of my bigger complaints. And also, like, I hope they have this improvement too. You should be able to drop weapons without having to open your menu just from that little slider.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So if that is, I mean, if we get one quality of life improvement and it's that, hey, I'm very happy about that. And oh, speaking of which, they've also confirmed a game mechanic where if I don't know how you get the item, but if you hold the R button and then you hold up on the D pad, you can now throw any item apparently, which is going to be, I think, a huge part to this game because also there's going to be a lot of new items, including like different fauna and different ways to make like fire and bombs and everything. So there's going to be a new throwing element because before you could only throw like your weapon. Now you can throw like anything, apparently.
That'll be good.
Yeah. Um, and Koroks are back. I know that's not a surprise because we saw them in
You found
yeah
me.
we saw Koroks in the last preview, like them wandering around. But apparently, there's at least going to be side quests of helping Koroks. I'm not sure if it's going to be the main one, but and then collecting Korok seeds and what that's going to be used for. I'm assuming some kind of upgrade for your abilities, or your slots. I mean, um, and and also they've included that durability has not changed really, but they haven't it was not specific on if it has improved at all or if you maybe fuse a combination together and that affects the durability somehow. um, I'm sure with a 70-minute preview you're not going to get all that information. um,
I am not finding this news story. I should have saved it. I saw one about a store in the Netherlands that released Breath of the Wild early, but I can't find one for Tears of the Kingdom.
I I think those things it has to be pretty serious. I've been to like other countries where like you had like they have the game and they're not going to release it because they know like they could get like shut down for it. And this is some random place in some random country, you know. Um,
I remember, like, I've seen people posting screenshots of like them holding copies, like in the back rooms of like game stores and stuff. But like, I remember when I worked at Target, the new releases of movies and games, nothing. It didn't come in until the night like before, like we would after the store closed, we would set up whatever new displays or whatever, and it was always the night before that it came in. It like the day before, I guess you could say. But nothing before that.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never been a midnight release guy, but I did get the midnight release when the new Animal Crossing came out, and I know for a fact that those shops in Taiwan they had those games for days. Like I know they had them for quite a while, but none of them were going to sell it early. But I don't know because like again like I don't know those games come directly from Japan, and it's just like a short flight, away. So
Mhm.
different companies, different rules. I just know that Nintendo, um, Nintendo will shut people down.
Well, yeah, they're trying to track down that guy who leaked the art
Yeah.
book stuff. Like they're literally petitioning was it
Yep.
Reddit to try to like find his identity, and they will ruin his life if they can find it.
Yeah. Well, wasn't
His or her, I guess we should
well,
say.
I don't have this news story, but wasn't there someone Nintendo related released in prison? Like, wasn't there a hack released in prison, but he still owes money to Nintendo now? Some
Oh,
Bowser guy,
I have a vague memory of what you're talking about. Yeah, he was pirating Switch titles, I think.
right? And now he's out of jail, but he's still he's gonna get like garnished by Nintendo. I don't know the story, but listeners, like, leave a comment down below. I mean, wasn't prepared. Um, apparently
I've got the story here. That one was easy to find. Gary Bowser, a man sentenced in 2021 to 40 months in prison and a $14 million fine for his role in Nintendo hacking group Team Executor, it's spelled weird, has just been released from jail. But it's possible the massive amount of money he now owes in restitution may impact the entire rest of his life and livelihood.
so
What did he do?
so Kevin, what do you?
They sold
Go ahead.
they sold chips allowing users to play pirated games on the Switch. That's what they did.
Oh, okay. So these are like the. I know what these are because I see them all the time. Yeah, I've never used them, just to be clear. Like, but again, like, as we've talked on the show before, people will hack every Nintendo device. It's just
They'll hack
they'll hack
every
every
device.
Very, very, very sure.
They got Doom playing on a gas pump.
Oh yeah, everything plays Doom, man. Everything. That's one of my favorite subreddits.
Yeah.
But so yeah, my question, Kevin, what do you think prison is like as a video game hacker? You know, because you can't lie in prison. Like, everyone finds out what you did. You know, like like you think it's easy life to be like, yeah, I'm in because I hack video games. I think that might be kind of.
I don't know. I just know my two main life goals are don't go to prison, don't
Wait a
be
second.
homeless.
Wait a second. But Kevin, like, are you risking going to prison? I mean, you can tell me off air, but
I mean, I don't think I'm risking homelessness either, but
yeah,
it's just something I'd like to avoid.
But I just like to think that, that I like to think that people that go to prison, deserve it. But that's not always true, though. That's a different podcast.
Yeah, there's plenty of documentaries out there to depress you about that.
That's a whole. There's plenty of podcasts, and this one doesn't need to be be one of them. I have more notes on the preview, though.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently the Ultra Hand mechanic, it's going to be like, it was described as like magnesis, like it's like magnesis for like everything, which is going to be kind of cool, like being able to move around different items in the world. And again, I haven't seen the videos that came out, but apparently there's a way to save your creations. Like I guess you can maybe save it as like a blueprint, and then.
Oh, cool! That was something I brought up when the first trailer, the first gameplay, that 14 minutes of gameplay came out. I was like, I wonder how long they're going to last on the map. But if you can save them, like in a virtual garage, kind of like the horse stable, like just something where you can save your creations. That's cool,
right? So because apparently, like, I know the people that previewed it, they did like one sky island, and then they did like one like whatever, like lookout point where there's a lot of enemies around. And
I wonder how many they let you save.
And yeah, I don't know. But apparently, like, there's things to play with all around the world, and it's still not specific. It's still not we're not sure about the shrines yet, but apparently some of the shrine mechanics are found just in the outside world. So kind of like how you'd find like a Korok puzzle in Breath of the Wild, you'll find like these like shrine mechanics, shrine puzzles of where like you have like you're like you have to like move the water levels around to open something, something like that. Um, so again, I'm not sure if there's going to be shrines, but I think the open world is going to be a little bit more interactive in that way. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely sounds like this is going to be the type of game that takes over all of my free time. It's like there's some games that you play casually, and you're like, I could play this, or I could read comics or do something else. And then there's other games where you're like, every minute of my free time, I want to spend doing this until its novelty wears off, and that's what
Yeah.
this is going to be.
Well, I'll be interested in seeing how far I get in my first 10 hours, because I would not be surprised if in the first 10 hours I accomplish nothing. I'll say it that way. Not do nothing, but I will have only accomplished having fun, which is, the most important, of course. But yeah, Kevin, what do you think when this game comes out? Like, are you going to like get home, put it in, turn it on right away, jump right in, or does it take you a while to get like in the right headspace to like play a big game sometimes?
I feel like maps often are what like becoming like I feel more comfortable with the game when I know the map a little more. So that's going to be interesting with this game, since it's mostly reusing the Breath of the Wild map allegedly. Because like, I don't know, I've noticed that with me about games is like I get way more comfortable with a game on the second playthrough because I know the environment more. And a lot of times it's rare for that to hit as hard on the first playthrough. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yes. I j-
So yeah, I spend most of the first playthrough just kind of like trying to figure the game out, and then I feel like, but a game like this, I don't think it's going to be a playthrough necessarily. Probably more like a gaming session, where it'll be like, okay, the first time I sat down to play it, I was just figuring out how it plays, and then like the second or third time, I'm like, okay, I get it now.
I feel like I'm going to really like I'm going to have to make some coffee. I'm going to have to meditate a little bit and just sit on the home screen for just a few minutes before I can, because I know this is something people say about Breath of the Wild a lot. I wish I could just forget that whole game and play it again. Like I wish I had
Yep.
the Men in Black memory thing where I could like just flash myself and play it again, because or like when the new Animal Crossing came out, I waited so many years for that game to come out that when I finally had it, I thought, okay, I have to enjoy it, because I'm only gonna play like I'm only gonna get it to play it the first time once. Like I'm only gonna get to be introduced to this one time. So I feel like it's gonna take me a little while to kind of ease into it. Although knowing my surroundings is going to help out a lot. And apparently, yeah.
I did set aside that whole
Oh, really?
Saturday. It comes out on the Friday, and I said this Saturday I'm not doing anything. I am only playing Tears of the Kingdom. It's only one day though. Like you remember as a kid, you could do the whole Saturday and Sunday, but not
Uh,
anymore.
oh, yeah. Well, I'm a digital nomad, so I not for gaming necessarily, but I take time off for like things like that all the time. Yeah. I don't
Yep.
know. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to be in a rush. I don't think when I get the
Yep.
game, it's just going to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, I'm not. That's one thing I don't understand is like, I'm sure the first week it's out, we will see people who are in a rush. The first week it's out, we're going to see people like day 2 who are like, I beat it. And it's like, no, you didn't play it right then. You're supposed to take it all in and go slow and savor it. I remember that happened with Breath of the Wild. There were people, because it was that open world thing where you could go straight to Ganon. Like 2 or 3 days in, I started seeing all kinds of posts of people like, I finished it already. What's the big deal? And it's like, well, if you took your time to look around, you would have seen the big deal, but you were busy trying to be the first one to
Yeah.
finish. So, yeah, I don't understand people that
Well,
rush.
I'll tell you, and I think there's going to be so much in this game to keep us occupied. I will avoid the main storyline as much as I can. I mean, because
Yep.
every playthrough of Breath of the Wild, yeah, I never deviate so much, but every playthrough I've ever done, I always get as many shrines without doing Divine Beast, which is about 115 or so, and then I I always do stamina first. I never do hearts because because why, like yeah,
You need food. Yeah.
and stamina is way better in Breath of the Wild. Like that's what you want. Like you want to be able to climb. You want to be able to get places.
Yeah. And you can just get those temporary hearts from like the
Oh,
food boost.
oh, and I do want to include one thing, and I saw this in every article that I read. There's going to be performance issues with this game, um, and and
Yep.
I'll tell you right now that me and many people are going to try to break this game, and it's going to be it's going to be the fun part of it. I'm going to see how fast, how big, like how many things can I put together, because I mean, breaking Breath of the Wild was one of the fun parts for me. Uh, like being able to go so fast that the game can't keep up, or like uh, and apparently there's a huge learning curve in this game as well. Like there's going to be a lot
Oh, okay.
with these new mechanics that we
I
have.
didn't know
There's going to
that.
be a lot of like using more of the D-pad directionally while pressing like the side buttons, and I'm ready for it. I think if you have a good foundation with Breath of the Wild, it's not going to be so bad, but I think it's going to be a learning curve for sure.
Well, with that, I think we can move on to the spotlight game of the week. Sean is not here, but he did send me some thoughts on it. I'll say at the end. So we played Earthworm Jim for the Sega Genesis, and one thing I will say about this game is this is a game that I've wanted to be into like ever since back in the day when it was a new game, and then I always play it and I'm bad at it. I don't know if you have any games like that where you're like you I don't know if it's just like the vibe of like what the character looks like or what like there's a lot of similarities between this and Metroid, I think. How much of my enjoyment is coming from this just being a character with a cool costume? Um
I I
Go
relate to
ahead.
that. I think all too well, but I don't relate to that with this game. I think I think this is a
Okay.
game that I really want people to know, because not that people are more sensitive these days, but like I respect this game. I I think it's very cool. It's like you're playing inside of a Saturday morning cartoon, and
It had a Saturday
and the
morning cartoon
cartoon's
too.
pretty good. That's what I actually put in my notes as well. I had never
Yep.
seen it before, but I watched the first two episodes and I was like,
Reminds me of
yes.
Freakazoid.
I'm like, this theme song is great, and there's not very much to the story in the background, in my opinion. But who cares? It's a children's show, so I
Yeah.
actually thought that the cartoon, like, I was thinking about, I wonder if I was a little bit older, because I was like a baby when it came out. I wonder if I would be more interested in this franchise based on, because they wanted to make this game kind of around being able to make merchandise for it. Like it was very,
Yes.
very Sonic inspired. So I just want to say that this is not a game that I enjoyed playing. This is a game that I actually rage quit a couple of times. I got stuck in those. I got stuck in
Okay.
those tires, and like right in the beginning.
Yeah, it reminded me of like this was the type of game where you don't see side scrollers like this anymore, where it took me back to a time when level design got a little overly complicated. And what you would do is you would get a video game magazine that would print the walkthrough, and it would literally be like they would print out the layout of the entire side scrolling level, and you would like, you would bring it to school and you would follow with your eyes like the path through the level, and it would kind of feel like you were playing the game, and you were like, oh, okay, like if I go up here and over, there's a free guy over there or whatever. um and I don't know, it took me back to like side scrollers like that, because most of the side scrollers we play today and things like Mario only have like one path through the level. Sometimes it branches a little bit for like an alternate exit or something, but not as much as like these type of games where there was a lot of, I went in circles
Mm-hmm.
a few times in the game because I didn't know where I was supposed to go. And I'm not saying this is either good or bad design. I'm just saying this really took me back to when there were more games like this. I was the perfect age for it. This game came out in 1994. So let me get the exact date. I have it in my notes here. It came out October. That's weird. It doesn't have a day. It just says October. But anyway, October of 94. Uh, and yeah, I was in the fourth grade in October 94. So probably right about the right age for this. And yeah, I remember playing it and being like, I wish I was better at this game, but I was, I never made it past like the third level, including when I played it for
Yeah, I
this.
mean, it took me back to a number of games I played on Genesis of where like I think if I was a kid and perhaps like I went to Blockbuster and rented this game, I wonder like how long am I playing this game as a kid before I'm like, oops, like that that was the wrong choice. Because like I definitely do have more perseverance now. I'm way better at games now. Uh, but there was parts that were frustrating to me, and there was even parts where I couldn't tell if they were assets or they were just textures somewhere in the background as well.
Yes, everything kind of does look the same, like you could interact with it. Like there's not a lot of
Yeah,
differentiation. That's a
and
good point.
I'm like, yeah, I'm just constantly like I'm like shooting. Like, is that a bird? Like, no, that's the background. I can't shoot it. And eh, and yeah, but I do think, I mean, it's amazing what they can do with this technology. For a game in '94 to be like this original and like look this good. Again, this is just a game I kind of missed on. Didn't enjoy playing, but if this is your game, I get it. You know, like I think it's very cool.
I think my neighbors had this game growing up because I had this thing in my neighborhood where one of the houses was like the Sega house, and like I was a Nintendo house. There was another Nintendo house, but there was this one family that was like specifically Sega. And I think they had this game. And so most of my memories of it are like past the controller type memories and not so much me trying to tackle the game on my own.
Yeah.
So you said, I don't know. You said something like, I don't know how I would play this or something. And I was like, well, I don't think I ever tried playing it on my own till just now.
Yeah, and I watched other like I watched like the angry video game nerd and like other people playing this game, and I'll tell you, I'm fascinated by muscle memory, just the way how our
Hmm.
minds work and like how like you could not play like if there's a game that you really know you could not play it for years and like pick it up and like I'm watching him play this game I'm like oh my god like how, especially like the ones where you have to attach like your head to the they're they're like these like ropes and you have to like jump on each one. It's just very
Yeah, I was
it,
really bad at any
yeah
time I had to
like
whip.
it's just very complicated and it's not necessarily um one way of doing things which again I really appreciate for a game of this time but yeah
Yeah, this is definitely a game of the time where like you had one game to play at a time. Like you didn't have a
And
stack. That if you rented it, like you said earlier, renting it, like if you rented it, that
yep,
was your game for the
yep,
weekend.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that was it. So we just like I mean maybe I did have more perseverance back then. I mean, I don't know. There's like now if I play a game and it's like I just move on now. So it's like maybe I do have more perseverance back then because I really did play what was in front of me. Uh,
Well, I have a similar memory with Adventure of Link, the
oh yeah.
second Zelda game, where we'll get to this more when that comes up in the randomizer. But growing up, the majority of my memories of playing that were past the controller type thing. So I wasn't like trying to beat that game by myself. It was like, you know, here I died, take the controller. Okay, I got a little further. Then I died. You take the game. We beat a dungeon.
Mhm.
Yay, we're awesome. Like it was like a team effort. Um, but yeah, anyway, I got some facts about Earthworm Jim here. So there was a remake of this game
Right.
in 2010 for the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live called Earthworm Jim HD. And I'm almost positive the remake was them testing the waters to see if there was enough like interest for a new installment because in 2008, a little bit earlier, they had announced Earthworm Jim 4 and that has never come out. So maybe they got a little into development and saw that nobody cared about this PlayStation
Well,
remake and it
well,
kind of
I
crippled
have
that.
more on Earthworm Jim 4. Um,
Yeah, because a lot of the reception for the remake was mixed. It was like 7 out of 10 at best, saying the game hasn't really aged well. Most of like what we're
well,
saying right now.
I don't want to cut into what you're saying, but do you know what system they were planning the fourth game on?
Yeah, I had never heard of this thing. It was called the
Amiibo or the
Amico.
Amico. I'm sorry, the Amico.
Yeah, the Amico, and it was like a touch. It had like a touch screen controller that docked on the console. It kind of looks like an iPod, and anyway, the system was supposed to target families, and it was going to have only family friendly games. I don't think the system has released
So
yet
I,
either.
I have to talk about this part because this part's just too
Okay.
interesting. Okay, so I remember when this was announced. It was announced actually I think it was announced in 2019, although it was confirmed in 2018. So obviously this is like prior to the pandemic and perhaps put a uh, put a big wrench in this whole process. But the Intellivision Amico was announced while Tommy Tallarico was the CEO of Intellivision. Tommy Tallarico, as you probably know, was the composer of Earthworm Jim. Um, and much like the maker of Earthworm Jim, Tommy Tallarico is a crazy person. Um, and Kevin, I just have to say, I don't have time. Like I don't have enough time in my life. I am so upset that we picked this game because there is a 4-hour documentary on this man online, and what
Oh, really? What is it? I'll
well, I'm not
definitely
sure
give
if it's
that a
on
watch.
Tommy Tallarico. I think it's on him and his involvement with Intellivision and this whole Amico drama because I think there was a lot of lies that were told. I mean, there was obviously people who I don't know if it was a Kickstarter, but they paid for this system and it never came out. I mean, at one point the at least at one point the trademark expired and they had to renew it. So this system is never coming out. But it's really interesting that I think the reason why they chose this system is because Tommy Tallarico, who is the former CEO and current majority shareholder, worked on Earthworm Jim. So very, very interesting stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
who is this?
And it's weird that it's Earthworm Jim 4 because technically it would be 5 because there was a Game Boy game called
Right.
Menace to the Galaxy that came out after
Right.
Earthworm Jim 3D. So technically this would be Earthworm Jim 5, but I guess they're not counting the Game Boy game.
Right. Right. And I think, and it's complicated because, correct me if I'm wrong, but the makers of the first two games did not work on the 3D game, or I guess what we would call the fourth game. And then this new game was going to involve the original creators. So it's it's a very fascinating, very weird story. I mean, the Intellivision, the original home console, sold about 3 million units. So I'm just like, who was this? Who is this console for? Because the price point was going to be 250 to $300, and it's like, people, just buy a Switch. Like, buy an actual family friendly device.
Yeah, it's like their hook was going to be like, oh, we're only going to have family friendly games on here. And it's like, well, if you honestly care that much about what your kids are playing, then you could just monitor what they're playing on a Switch. You don't need a device that, only has this type of library. And I don't know. It's like it's such a weird idea, and it's
Yeah,
doomed to
doomed to
fail.
fail. I mean, I love the idea of competitions in this market, but apparently the hardware was horrible, like compared to like $100 Android phone, and the nostalgia is just not there. I mean, even if
Well, the touchscreen controller is ridiculous. Like I said, it looks like
it
an
does.
an iPod, and I don't want to play a game with an
It
iPod.
it does, and it's just one of those
I could barely play. I remember my iPod had games on it, and I could barely play Monopoly with that thing. Imagine trying to play a
I remember
platformer.
playing Brick Breaker, which I love.
There you go.
I mean, playing Brick Breaker with a scrolling wheel was a lot of fun. I remember, but I mean, there's not enough nostalgia, and even if you are a television fan, there's nothing to the system that makes you nostalgic for the company, in my opinion. So, um, I do remember like RGT and a few like retro gamers talking about this when it was first announced. But oh my god, like what a firefest this system and this game was. And not only that, Kevin, but like, not only do I have to watch the documentary, I wish I never found out about the maker of this game. And I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, I have this rant that I go on when it comes to this is a philosophy I've had because the subject of separating the art from the artist comes up a lot, especially when you do a video game podcast and a comic
Mm-hmm.
book
Sure.
podcast. So my basic thinking on the subject is it depends on how you were exposed to the art. Something like this, like I said, I was exposed to this game in the fourth grade, had no knowledge of the creator and how crazy he was. So I can use this analogy where I'm like, say you ate a piece of cake and you were like, that cake was delicious. And then you found out that the person who made the cake was a terrible person. You don't have to now say, actually, the cake wasn't that good. No, you said it was delicious. But now you don't have to buy future cakes from that person. You know what I mean? So you can admit, yeah, before I knew he was a terrible person, it was a good cake, but I'm not going to go back for more. And that's kind of how I feel about separating art from the artist is like, I saw this game before I knew anything about the creator. I thought it was kind of cool. Like I liked the design of the character. Um, I thought it had potential. That's probably the best way to say. My best review of this game is it had potential. Um, and now I found out he's a terrible person, and I won't go back if they release an Earthworm Jim
Well,
4. So
that's a great point, Kevin. And I love this topic. I have to add one more part to this. Uh, for me, I think it's severity for me. I think, because I think about how you separate art from artist a lot, and to me, it's severity. Honestly, like, are you a terrible person on Twitter, or are you? I hate to, I
actively trying to do things in
like
reality. Yeah. Are you trying
I
to
hope it
affect the
doesn't trigger
outside
anyone,
world?
but like I grew up watching the Cosby Show. It was my favorite show growing up. But when I found out what Bill Cosby
Yeah.
did, I can't watch it anymore. I can't. I can't. I can't because I can't.
Yeah, and in my analogy, to me, that goes into like going back to for future cake. Like I won't go back to the Cosby Show for future entertainment type thing. Like, but I have the
Yeah,
memories of when I enjoyed it. You
but
know
for
what I'm
me,
saying?
it's like a reflex for me. It's like if I can separate the art from the artist until the point where I just can't enjoy it anymore. Until I can't, basically. Um,
Yeah. And unfortunately, there's too
yeah,
many of them
and
these days. That you're like, oh man, that's another thing I can never
yeah,
look at the
and
same
as
again.
far as I mean, I might be wrong because I'm not an expert on this guy. But as far as what I've seen, he's just a horrible person. Like that's just my opinion. Like he's
Yeah, that's
that.
this podcast's
Yeah,
opinion.
but I have to add though. So going back to the composer, he the soundtrack to this game is awesome. It's it's awesome in this game, and I don't know why they use Moonlight Sonata in this game, like the da, 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 da.
I think it's just because it was popular in
It was popular in
cartoons at the time.
cartoons and popular perhaps in pop culture as well. It still is, but I I'm not a fan of that stuff. Like I it kind of took away from it, and I love the gun sounds in it. It's just so like so poppy. I just I added
Mm-hmm.
that note to it, and um oh, this is great. I forgot to add this. Did you know that Tommy Tallarico, the composer for this, made the famous oof sound? Did you know that? The oof, like
No, I didn't.
the one they took it out of Roblox because they got sued by him, I think. And like every YouTube channel uses this sound, I think. Like when they cut out like a cuss word, they use the oof, you know? Um and that was
Interesting.
from a different game that he made. I don't have it pulled up now.
Is that the same oof in Doom? Going back to Doom,
I don't.
you know when you like try to open a door or something and it doesn't work, he kind of goes like oof oof.
Um, no, this like this one's like more of like the one like it sounds like a kid saying it, right? Like the ooh.
Oh,
But
okay.
what? But anyways, that was taken from a game that I don't think a lot of people a lot of people played. I can't find it now. It leave us a comment down below if you know. Um, so he created that infamous sound, and I realized like I never knew actually what that came from because I knew it came from Roblox, but then like I knew it wasn't from Roblox, but apparently it has this huge origin to it. And I was thinking about it's a game called Messiah. Messiah is the name of it.
Okay.
Not a game that I think many people know. Not a game that I know. But I was thinking about that because Earthworm Jim, he says yippee during it, and I'm like, Jim, like you're not Mario, like like why are you saying yippee? Like that's not your line.
So where would you put this in your ranking? I'll cut in here with Sean's opinion. He sent it to me before we started recording, and he said that he basically put it almost all the way at the bottom. He put it third up from the bottom. It's above baseball and ice climber, which I guess he still hates. But yeah, he did not care for this game. He told me he couldn't get like anywhere in it.
Uh, I, despite not getting very far, I had this game fifth above, and if my unless my list is wrong, above baseball, Donkey Kong Jr. and pro wrestling, um, because
That's what I got
because like
for you.
despite despite a game like baseball that I spent a lot of time in my childhood playing baseball and RBI and bases loaded. It's just not a game that I'm going to compare to Earthworm Jim, and that's just my prerogative on it. Like they're just two. One's an Atari game, and one's an extremely ambitious project slash new franchise. You know.
Yeah, I had it in a similar spot. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it is 5 up from my bottom. It's in my bottom 5. It starts my bottom 5. So the games that I ranked worse were Donkey Kong Jr., Kung Fu Heroes, Spanky's Quest, and Pro Wrestling. And why does this game keep coming up? This is a coincidence, I swear. But it's below Ice Climber. And for some reason, that's the game we keep comparing everything to. But I'm like, yep, worse than Ice Climber. Um, but still playable. That's kind of the line in my that's the line in my rankings for games that like I don't think are even like I don't ever want to play again. And this is like as far as playability, like we discussed, it's riding the line. It's like I think it's playable, but I can't figure it out. So
if I were to make like a tier list as we've talked about every week, I would say like for me, 1, 2, 3, Mario Brothers 3, Link to the Past, Yoshi's Island, those are all must play. Like if you have the online service, you haven't played the games, you should play it. And then NES Open Tournament is like, okay, if you enjoy golf games, you should play this game. And then Earthworm Jim, I don't really know where to put that. Like, I don't know if I would recommend it. And I don't know who I recommend it to, you know? And there's not really any kind of hype around this game or this IP.
Yeah, I doubt it's getting new fans, even though it's appearing on new services like Switch Online. It seems like one of those games where like you either have nostalgia for it and you love it, or it's not for you.
Right. So I think there's yeah, my list has 8 now, and I think there's huge gaps. There's huge drop offs. Um, so Kevin, what is your top 5 now then?
My top 5 is A Link to the Past, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario Brothers 3, Kirby Adventure, and Baseball.
Okay, okay, all right. But yeah, but Kirby Adventure is not on my list, of course, and I would probably have something similar.
Well, you can rank them if you want to like get the ones you missed and add to your list. You don't have to do it right now.
Yeah,
but
perhaps in the future.
Feel free.
So yeah, I think it's pretty similar. And then Sean's has now gotten a little bit more different, a little bit more because his is at the bottom now.
Yeah. The more we do, the more different the lists are going to get. Like I remember when I put baseball at number 5, I said something like, you know, it's probably not going to stay here, but as of right now, it's in my top 5,
which is good. Now I just hope we pull Zelda 2 because you've had the last 2 episodes talking about that game. so might as well.
Well, yeah, let's see what we pull. Let me click up the old randomizer here. All right. It always takes a little longer than the sound effect. There we go. So we're back on our NES game, but we were just going to keep chipping away at that list of NES titles, but it's a really good one. It's the Super Mario Brothers 2, the American version of Super Mario Brothers 2. Or is it international? What's that called?
I call it the American version, but I think it's the international version. That's very it's very American of us to number 1.
And the challenge will be to talk about it without talking about I'm blanking on the name of the game that it was taken
Lost
from.
Levels?
No. Because I keep No. How it's a reskin of why am I blanking on the name of this game? But everybody always talks about how Mario Brothers 2 is a reskin of oh God, why am I blank? I know this game.
Was it?
You know this
Wasn't
game.
a Japanese game?
Yes. Did you not know this?
Wait. DDP. What's? Oh,
Doki Doki Panic.
that's right. That's right. I
That's
forgot.
what it
I
is.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
It's been so long since I've played this game. Even though I'm out next week, I'm gonna play this a little bit because
If you've been paying super close attention to our podcast, I've already kind of said where I rank this game in casual conversation, but we'll have that talk next week. So, yeah, really looking forward to another Mario game, and also looking forward to knocking another NES game off the list so something
Exactly.
else will come up. So, yeah. And as always, keep in mind, we're Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So if you'd like to send us any corrections or anything we said today, let us know anything we might be forgetting to talk about, anything we missed in the news, contact us. We got Nintendo Therapy Pod at gmail.com, and we are at Nintendo Therapy on Twitter. I am looking at our email right now.
Put something in there.
Nothing in there except for.
And we got two more. We have.
Yeah.
Wait, including this, we only have this episode and next episode. Wait, 2 episodes after this until. No, 1 episode after this. No, 2. I don't know. 2 after this until Tears of the Kingdom comes out. So we're getting there. We're real close.
We have this episode and one more, and then the one we do after that, it will be out. But so the episode will drop on the day Tears of the Kingdom comes out, so we won't have played it yet. So I guess you're right. We've got 2 more episodes until
So when you're
we've
taking
played
breaks from playing Tears of the Kingdom, listen to the episode. See what you missed this week.
There you go. And yeah, we'll see you all next time. If any of you liked Momo from some of the earlier episodes, he said he's going to be coming back like 3 episodes from now. He's got a new work schedule, so there'll be 4 of us on that podcast, hopefully. So that'll be cool. And yeah, a lot of cool stuff to look forward to in the future here. So let's hear a game over screen.